Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, it's a lovely day here. It's Good Friday in Australia. It's a holiday. My family's left the house early to go to the beach. I'm going tomorrow, so I have a little window here. So I had to throw up the bat signal and see who would be around to record, and somebody who, again, insanely hasn't been on for so long. It's crazy. I had to double check. I'm just like, oh my God, it's been like over a year. What is going on? Let's just get it here. Pop Culture Hour, Canto Bight Dispatch, something about Vin Diesel, something about Fast and Furious, something about trashy movies. Emily Lynn, how are you going?
All right. How are you doing?
Good. You're carving out quite a niche for yourself these days, aren't you, really? Like with these extracurricular podcasts?
Yeah, I've decided to go as niche as humanly possible. And so, let's see, we did all the Fast and the Furious movies. And then, because my friend Steve and I started it when we thought lockdown was going to be a couple of months. And then the pandemic would be over. Remember when people thought that? And then it was, well, I guess we'll do every Vin Diesel movie. And currently, we're still releasing Vin Diesel episodes, but we are recording Gerard Butler episodes.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? Because it's not, it's the same yet different. It's the European version. It's the, it's like, yeah. I mean, I assume Gerard Butler is Scottish, but I always think of that just because off the back of 300. Is he actually Scottish, or is he?
He's Scottish.
He actually is Scottish.
That is why anytime he's playing an American, it is super funny.
Oh,
Scottish is maybe the hardest accent to cover up, I think.
It's probably also one of the hardest to do convincingly if you're not. I know Australians up there as well. There's only been like 3 people who ever nailed an Australian accent who aren't Australian. Kate Winslet is one of them in Holy Smoke. I think it is the Jane Campion film. It's crazy that she nails it. I think the lady from Handmaid's Tale was in some Australian thing, and hers was pretty good as well.
Okay.
I think that's about it. I always, by default, and even though it's not an Australian accent, it's always Steve Guttenberg doing a New Zealand accent. Have you ever seen that?
What is that called?
Don't tell her it's me. Yeah, it's like some sort of like Lifetime movie thing. Oh, the Goot.
Yeah, that's a terrible movie where he like pretends to have cancer or something, or he did have cancer and then he's pretending to his life affirming thing is pretending to be this New Zealand dude.
Yeah, like a biker or a New Zealand biker. Oh my God, you know more about it than I do. Goodness.
There was some.
Eventually, you'll get around to the Goot. After Gerard, there's Diesel. There's Butler. Gutenberg is somewhere in that line somewhere.
I mean, we still have 20 Gerard Butler movies or something insane, but after that, we might do Val Kilmer.
I don't mind the ones where he's like protecting the president.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Olympus Has Fallen, or is it White House Down? I can't remember. It's one or the other.
Has Fallen.
Yeah. But he did a lot of stuff. I can't believe this Gerard Butler spin-off podcast. I don't think 300. He'd been around for a while before 300. He was in one of the Lara Croft movies and stuff. There's probably some sort of whole back catalogue of just him working in the UK.
Yeah,
before
he did a lot of UK TV. He did a lot of UK movies that we have to skip just because they don't exist. There's not streaming anywhere. You can't even pirate them. They're only available on Region 2 DVDs.
If you buy them in a Tesco, if you buy them in a Tesco checkout line, they're just there before you get, I guess I'll get, Geezer Gangsters or something like that, or Double British Impact or something, or whatever it's going to be.
300 is when he
the Charing Cross
300
connection.
When he's really broke in the US, but he had already done the Lara Croft, he had done Phantom of the Opera, he had been in some stuff.
Oh, Phantom of the Opera, I forgot about that. Goodness me. Will we ever see Jerry Butler in Star Wars? Is that too close to home?
I think it would be fun.
Or is it Vin Diesel in Star Wars? If you got to choose between two, I know you got a connection now to both of them. It's like Woody Harrelson in Star Wars. I just see Woody Harrelson. I think Vin Diesel in Star Wars would absolutely take me out of it.
It would have to be a voice. It couldn't just be him. It'd have to be some sort of I Am Groot situation.
Yeah. I am Stormtrooper or something like that. Like, all right, that's good enough. That's all we need. That's all we need, Vin. No, I was going to say you inspired me to watch something on Disney Plus the other night that you were tweeting about, and it was one of those things where I assumed that I had seen it, but I hadn't seen it. It was Commando with Schwarzenegger.
What did you?
Which
What
I've
did you
never.
think?
I was those things where I go, I assume I'd already seen it, and I'm like, and because we've got all these extra movies on Disney Plus now, I've just gone, oh, I've never. And Kat was like, she was working late, so I had run on the TV, and I'm like, this is the only chance we're going to get to watch Commando, and I'm like, oh, it's 90 minutes, great. It's a comedy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like it's a comedy. Is it a comedy, or has it become a like? It feels like it was a comedy then.
I think it is a comedy. I think it is. While it is very much an 80s action movie, it is also like a really tongue-in-cheek, these movies are ridiculous action movie.
Yeah. Like they always say, like, Last Action Hero is the movie where Schwarzenegger became really self-aware and all that kind of stuff like that. But I think Commando is I mean, maybe he wasn't in on the joke then, perhaps, which is entirely possible. But just like there's like jokes and there's like even though there's one-liners, there's just jokes and sort of ridiculous sort of things that happen and like in the shopping mall, and then the thing with the car, he steals the car, and then they just he gets the lady and makes her follow him around to find the other guy, and everybody's sleazy and horny and like wants to hit on everybody, and it's just there. And then it has that thing like they're in the hotel and then the wall falls through and there's just like boobs flying around everywhere, and it's just it was crazy. Like at the start when he's with his kid and they're just like patting a deer and all that.
Yeah, like it starts like the first time you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's literally just walking around carrying an entire tree.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know whether he was in on it or not then. Like I know he's not people always go, he's not a stupid man, but I think it took a while for him to become self-aware. Like I don't know if there's a commentary track. I know there's some amazing commentary tracks he's done on some of his movies where it's just him describing what's happening in the movie, like it's audio description rather than like what. Yeah. Like it's not like, oh, this was a really hard scene. It was more like, oh, now you can see I'm coming down I'm coming down the hallway and they don't know that I'm coming and I got my gun and I'm going to get them. And like it's like, oh yeah. If you're listening to this again, we had a little technical mishap halfway through our amazing Commando talk, so you may or may not have caught all of that. But I said to Emily, just to pick this up again, I got really worried because I was dropping some hot Commando takes and I was getting nothing from Emily. She was just like a frozen screen with no reaction. I was like, oh my God, this is how Johnny Grasso must feel all the time.
Yes, I was intentionally being rude to you. I did not appreciate your Commando takes.
Like, Commando is awesome. I watch it all the time. Which was almost true. I didn't use it as your comfort food, but
weirdly enough.
All right, we should pivot slightly to some Star Wars stuff. We should just move over to that zone a little bit. And as I was saying before, the new Canto Bight Dispatch dropped about half an hour before we started this, and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna make Emily just go through all the stuff she's already talked about before. But let's just do that anyway. Let's just touch on. There was actually Star Wars news this week, so I was like, they dropped that Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is it Obi-Wan? It's called Obi-Wan Kenobi, isn't it? It's not Obi-Wan.
Do you know what? I don't know.
This is the world where the fan posters, you know what I mean? Like the fan posters collide with real life. Where I've seen so many stupid people making their own like fan announcement posters and things. I'm like, is it called Obi-Wan? Is it called Kenobi? Is it called Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is it? I honestly don't. I honestly don't know. I've got to Google it.
Let me see what they said. The cast picture announcement says Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay. All right. That's all I need to know. They've actually stuck with it. I mean, it was always going to be one of those sort of three things. It wasn't going to be sort of anything more deep, really. But yeah, look. Good cast. Nice to see Australia's own Joel Edgerton back. And Bonnie Peace. There was a friend of mine and she said that she either knows her, because she's from Melbourne, knows her or went to school with her or went to school with their sister or something. And I kept going, there's a connect. There's an actual possible chance of getting somebody related to Star Wars on the podcast. And then it turned out she was in some crazy cult, and I went, oh, well, that's the end of that then. But she's out of the cult, and she's back in Star Wars, so maybe I need to start making some calls.
This is actually something I had been talking with Brittany on Canto Bight about, but the fact that for some reason, obviously Owen and Beru are back, but in all of the stuff when I was thinking about the show, it never had clicked for me that those two are going to be characters on the show. That makes total sense. It just not been on my thought process at all.
I thought, I kind of went, well, if it's Obi-Wan in the desert, then it's probably more likely than they would, because it's just like, well, who else are you going to talk to? You know what I mean? But if it's Obi-Wan off planet having adventures, I thought, well, maybe they won't. Or I don't know. I kind of feel like it's going to be that he's going to go through his adventure. He's going to make it back to, he have a bad time at the end and have to go back to Tatooine, and then it'll be, I got chewed out by Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru again at the end, or, I don't know. I always kind of felt like they wasted Owen and Beru in episode 2 anyway, a little bit. But
I hope they get to actually do some stuff here.
Yeah, there's no sort of context about why they're so worried about Anakin and stuff. I always kind of felt they should have taken Uncle Owen. When Anakin goes to find his mum, he should have taken Uncle Owen, and Uncle Owen could have directed him, and then he could have actually seen even from a distance of what Anakin did to those Sand people. Then he'd be like, oh, okay, well now I got an idea of why we need to be worried about this guy, because he's got some issues, this kid. Rather than he kind of just turns up and then leaves 24 hours later, and then they get dumped with their kids.
It's a good point. That would have been a good inclusion.
Oh, well, it's a bit late to start rewriting Attack of the Clones now, really, 20 years after the fact.
Save it for the next special edition.
When's the last time you watched Attack of the Clones?
I mean, when's the last time I saw any of Attack of the Clones?
Oh,
It's
wow.
probably been in the past 5 years. When the last time I watched it all the way through would be maybe in theater.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a project. There's a...
No.
I can't be watching that. I got too much Commando to watch. I got too much Vin Diesel to watch. I got too much Jerry Butler to watch. I got too much Commando to watch. I don't have time to watch Attack of the Clones. It's not like I got a Star Wars podcast or anything like that. I know what happens. I know the gist.
Oh yeah. The breaking news that I'm gonna get from watching Attack of the Clones. If I watch Attack of the Clones, then the podcast is just going to be me complaining about Attack of the Clones.
Oh my god, Brittany, it was so stupid. Why can't it be more like Commando?
I would much rather watch a Commando than Attack of the Clones.
I feel like I watched it not that long. It's probably a couple of years now, but yeah. I mean, it was what year was it? 2020. Yeah. So next year is the 20th anniversary of. So celebration next year is going to be all about Attack of the Clones. Don't worry about all those new Star Wars, TV shows and movies and stuff they're going to drop. You're going to be able to buy your 20th anniversary Dexter Jester t-shirt and stuff at the Celebration store after queuing up for 4 hours.
That'll be the one panel I get into, was for Phantom Menace.
Hey Eric, you can give Eric. I think didn't you give Eric your Phantom Menace?
I did.
Eric, you had a rough time. You didn't get into anything. Come and watch Anthony Daniels talk about his book, and watch Ray Park do some slightly not quite as smooth moves as he used to do on stage. But that was funny because we got into all the other panels, and we got into that one, so it didn't really matter that it wasn't very good. And I always felt bad for Eric because it was the one thing he got into, and that was Celebration. I think was 2 years. Was it this weekend? Because it was Easter. I came home when I got back from America. Oh, it might have been a little bit earlier because I spent an extra week in America. And then it was Easter when I got back, and it's Easter here now. I was just trying to think. Well, that must be almost
because
2
Easter
years.
moves so much.
Yeah.
But
we're in the general
gist. It was
gist.
early April.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember whether it was the first weekend in April or the second.
Wow, 2 years now. That's crazy. To think that was... I just remember the last day there and them going, hey, we're all coming back next year, going, oh, great. Oh, my goodness, that seems so soon. And now it's actually going to be like 3.5 years
Yeah.
before. Like, if only we'd known.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it because in my head it was last year.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. It just feels like last year didn't happen, but it did happen. But somehow it's just a blip that everything interesting that happened last year.
Hmm.
Did you like for the celebration last year that didn't happen? Like how far? Like you obviously had your ticket. Did you have anything else organised apart from that? Did you guys get accommodation and stuff organised and things as well?
Yeah, Brittany had reserved Airbnb, and so like that was all set, which is sort of annoying to have to do that stuff again. But also, like it's in another year and a half. Who knows who's going to be where or doing what? So
Yeah. Well, I think it's a year out that you can book something. So I mean, it'll be kind of weird because it won't be that, because like everybody rushed for the hotel. Like I think I booked the Airbnb before I even got the tickets, just because I just assumed I'd get a ticket, and I think because they dropped the dates before they dropped the tickets, um, and now I'm just going to have to work out a year from the day from when they come out, so I can get something before everything's all gone. Does that make sense? Yes.
yeah, yeah. Luckily, I hadn't done plane tickets yet, mostly because I had been procrastinating, and then like for once, it paid off.
No, I did plane tickets, so yeah, I don't know. Well, we may or may
Well,
not get
I
out.
mean, yeah, I mean, international makes much more. You do buy them a long way out. Like for me, it's like as long
I'll,
as I'm like a month out, it's okay.
I'll get there. You could. I mean, worst case, you can always drive. I suppose if you had to, like
Well,
absolute worst case.
uh, well, no, I mean, one, I don't have my driver's license, and two, that's like a 3 day drive. But also,
Oh, you
like,
don't have a driver's license. This is.
no, I live in New York City,
Yeah, well, it's like London. I
but
never drove
yeah,
in London.
and for now, it's like I'm never going to worry about there's not going to be any flights between New York and LA.
Yeah,
Like, if I wait too long and I can't get the exact time I want, there's still like 6 flights a day.
yeah, yeah. It's true. That's a bit more of a luxury. Yeah. Gosh, 2 years. Wow. That's just okay. And then there's still another year and a bit because it's sort of like August or whatever. Oh my goodness. Okay. It's coming. It's all coming back to me. All right, let's wheel around back on this Obi-Wan thing. We'll talk. I don't really know who anybody else is going to be in this. Hayden Christensen. I don't even know what he's. I don't even know what Hayden Christensen's going to be really. And it's good seeing Kamal
No, we don't.
Nanjiani in it. Like I'd really like to see Kamal Nanjiani like make use of that bod. Like make him an
Yeah.
inquisitor or make him you know don't just make him the comedy relief or don't put him in a mask. Like do something cool with him. I think
I yeah. I think a lot of people are sort of going for he's the comedian, like make him a sassy droid, but also I think, hey, it, you're finally hiring people of color, maybe put them on screen.
yeah. And the guy is ripped. Like he's filmed this at Marvel's Eternals thing, which I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the Marvel slate is, but I think that will. I mean, that's filmed, so I'm assuming it's going to come out before Obi-Wan. So if he's going to be a superhero in that, I think that'll probably change a few perceptions as well. It's just like, hey, come on, don't just put a rubber Greedo mask on him and make him tell some gags. Like, getting to kick some butt.
It'd be fun if he were like a villain or something.
Yeah, make him the Imperial, or do something. I don't know. I like him. I'm a big fan of Silicon Valley, so I always liked him in that. And then that movie that he made with his wife about how he met his wife, and then she was in a
The
coma
Big
or something,
Sick.
the big sick or whatever it is, and she was unwell, and yeah, it was good. Bring it on. I'm all for it. Yeah, but again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I don't know if he's going off world. I don't know if what he's doing. This Darth Vader stuff actually sort of goes. This is going to be weird. I don't know whether I'm going to like that or not, but I think when I had Les on from Sith List, we were just talking about the older I get, the more sort of tolerance I just have for stuff, and I'll just enjoy most things and not worry too much about it. I just kind of go, okay, that's fine. Like, it's all right. There's no point getting worked up over things. Like, I saw Godzilla versus Kong last weekend because we got it in the cinemas here in Australia, and I know you're Team Kong, Emily. I won't spoil anything for you.
No, I watched it already. It's
Oh,
fine.
you watched it already? Okay, well, what did you think? Like,
It it's fine. Like, look, I wish I had seen it in the theater and not on my laptop. but I thought it was kind of like, I thought it was like perfectly fine. There's some good fight scenes, and it's very much a King Kong movie and not a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because I love King Kong.
Yeah. Well, I got to see it in the cinema Saturday opening sort of weekend. It was a packed room. We were in the big new cinema near my house. It was like great big scene, like recliners, earth shattering sound and stuff. All great. But there was still just like a bunch of people on their phones, people talking, dicking around. I'm just like, oh, this is all the shit that I hate about the cinema. I forgot about all of this. I've been so used to watching stuff at home in a controlled environment. But at the same time, I'm like, well, it's Godzilla versus Kong. Like, does it really matter if people are not, respecting the etiquette?
It would still piss me off, I gotta say.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it still pissed me off. I think you're pretty much the same as me, Emily. Like, you gotta. The funny thing was, there was a lot of people. There was probably 3 or 4 people, and seemed like I sound like such an old person when I say this. There were younger people. They're probably teenagers, early 20s kind of thing, that were all like filming the start of it on their phones. So I don't know whether they were like TikToking the start. Like, I don't think they were there to like, I'm here to film the movie. I think it was more, I've got to let my 68 followers know that I'm in the cinema watching King Kong Godzilla and like watching this.
Yeah, that's very important.
And I'm just like the old man, just like, get your freaking phones down. I don't know. I tend to. I'll usually say something if it goes on too long. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I don't mind like calling them out. But yeah, it was fine. Like I said, monkey versus lizard. It was. I don't want to spoil the. You know what? I'll spoil the ending. If you haven't seen the King Kong versus Godzilla, did you think that they kind of wussed out the end? Like, no one really went down.
I felt like that was inevitable, like going into it, because they wouldn't want to like make either fan base mad.
Yeah. I just kind of feel like I saw a bunch of posters. It's like, one will stand, one will fall. And yeah, I guess they did all technically stand and fall at some stage in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was fine. There's some cool monsters.
Yeah, I don't know what people were expecting apart from that. But, it was cool. It was a lot quicker to sit through than Justice League. So, and I was fully prepared to see Justice League in a cinema, but it just didn't come to the cinema here. So I had to watch it at home like everybody else over 3 nights or 2 or 3 nights. I did see in the show notes that you mentioned Justice League on Canto Bight, but I didn't know what your opinion was. If you want to spoil that now, Emily, but you're grinning as if you go like, I have opinions.
Look, my opinion is that I hate it, and I hated what I saw of the Joss Whedon one too, and this one is just like, I guess it's better, but it's also like twice as long. So anything that it gains by being better, it loses by being twice as long.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look, I didn't mind it. I thought it was better than the other one. But again, anything that's 4 hours long, it just has to be, make it a mini-series or something. I don't know. Like, I suppose it doesn't matter on streaming, but yeah, I don't know. And the squareness, I keep bringing it up, the stupid square aspect ratio absolutely did my head in. Absolutely served no purpose whatsoever. I don't care if you're getting more at the top. If it's still in a square, and I've got a widescreen, I'm losing stuff regardless. If I'm in an IMAX cinema, then great.
But also, like, that was the thing that I didn't get, is his defense of, like, oh, my real vision is for this to be seen in IMAX. I'm like, but that you made this deal with HBO Max, and that's how it's being seen. So why make it for IMAX?
Yeah. Or just make it for IMAX all you like. Just show it in widescreen if everyone's watching it in widescreen, and then put it out on IMAX when we can get into an IMAX. Like, that's totally, absolutely fine. Put it in an IMAX all you want. So the only thing that it actually feels on is an iPad, because iPads are slightly square. So I have actually looked at it on an iPad, and it actually feels somewhat, but I'm like, anyway, whatever, Zack Snyder. Okay. I mean, I appreciate that you called out all those idiots on the internet, so you do have my respect, but at the same time, you've made some interesting choices. You guys are nearly up to 200 episodes, aren't you?
Yeah, we just released 184, so we're creeping up there.
Because I remember I had Brittany on when you hit 100, and even that doesn't feel like that was that long ago.
Yeah, like I sort of look back at it and I'm like, what have we been talking about for 180 episodes? I
You can go
don't
back
know.
and you could. I mean, are you tempted to go back to the first one and listen to it for the 200th? Or did you do that for the 100th? Or you kind of just like, some things are best left.
I can't do it. The thought of that just sort of like makes me feel ill.
Do you just go, I really wish we'd put Taylor Swift at the end of every episode, then they would have been removed from the internet for us, and I wouldn't have to worry about going back and listening.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that had happened, I would just been like, okay, that's the end of the podcast now.
That was the mercy killing that it's nice that it's been taken out of my hands.
Yeah.
No, I mean 200 is a massive. It's a huge effort. Like it's take it from me as someone who we got to the this one is a little bit different, but we passed 100 on the Peppa Pig podcast, and Matt and I obviously don't take that too seriously, but we keep talking about how they've just started making more episodes, so it's never going to end. Like every time we think that there's an end in sight, they announced that they're just going to make more Peppa Pig episodes. So I think we've realistically just assumed that we're never going to get to the end of it. Like it's going to outlive us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mantle that's handed on to our children or something like that. Our daughters will pick it up and run with it at some stage. And at what point does it just become, that you're doing it just to complete something rather than you're enjoying it? And we always said, we're still definitely enjoying it, so we'll keep doing it. But yeah, and obviously you guys enjoy it as well, and that's why you keep doing it. I wouldn't want it to just become like a chore or like an obligation. Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Especially not getting paid for it,
Yeah, like it's one thing, if you're Mark Maron and that's your living. But
But I'm sure he just was like, I don't want to do this today. I don't know what I don't know. Like, I've checked in on Mark Maron occasionally when I'm just like, oh, he's got somebody that I want to hear from on there. But I'm like, I've got to skip past the 40 minutes of talking about what's going on with Mark Maron and then get to the rest of it.
Look, I really like Mark Maron, but there's only so much I can hear about his cats.
Yeah, look. 200, nonetheless, pretty good. And considering you guys don't have many guests as well, like it's really, it's really just the Brittany and Emily show, which is, I know you had Steele on quite recently, but for the most part, it's just you guys like slugging it out every week.
In some ways, that's easier because, I mean, like arranging to have a guest, and then I feel bad if there's nothing to talk about, and for some reason, adding one more person makes editing like 300 times more annoying, I found.
Is it because you're worried about...
Maybe it's just because I'm not used to it, but...
You're just like, Brittany won't mind if I cut all this out. Is it more just like, can't cut that stuff that Steele said out, even though I really want to, because he'll probably listen and he'll probably check, and I'll get a message.
Well, no, it's literally, it's just the fiddly stuff. It's like, with Zencaster, sometimes there'll be drift. And like, so if you add another person, there's like two different people who can be out of sync with somebody else. Like, it's just it's exponentially worse. And again, like, also then I'm like, I feel bad asking people to be on. And also our podcast is weird and dirty, and I feel like strange, like inviting people into that strange. Like, so unless it's like Steele who knows us, or
yeah.
Like when we had Chris Fresh on, he fit right into the show. But it's a very, like, there's a very small portion of people who I think can, like, just jump in there.
Well, I'm sure his ears are burning right now, but I am seeing Chris tonight at Wrestle Rock, and hopefully we'll touch base a little bit, but it's sort of the Chris Fresh show, so he's doing his thing. So he's sort of ringside with his buddy Julian, and they're calling the wrestling, and they're in the ring, and they're doing their thing. So we tend to sort of stand in the same spot behind them, and we can kind of interject it as it goes along. But I did say when we started, I'd mentioned that we're going, that it was it was one of the big things of like, life's back to normal in Melbourne. That Wrestle Rock is on. That you can hold a wrestling event in a pub, and it's okay. People can stand close to each other and do these things. And we're out of masks here as well, and everything's looking pretty good. So, really looking forward to that. But I'm sure his ears are burning right now when he hears he's being talked about. So it's good on him. I'll send your best. Send him your regards.
Yeah. I want to, if I ever make it to Australia, I want it to be at a time when there's a Wrestle Rock show, because I think that'd be a blast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a perfect, like, I remember a couple of years ago you were sort of saying, I'd love to come over for the comedy festival and stuff. It's like, comedy festival's on right now, Wrestle Rock's on right now. It's like, what could have been? This could have been your moment moment to shine, Emily, in a different world. If you'd been looking, if the world nothing had happened and you were planning your trip, you'd be like, well, 2021's the time to go, because stuff's on.
Yeah, it's a shame. Stupid pandemics.
Stupid pandemic. Ruining everything. We probably should touch on this Bad Batch thing. Where's Bad Batch sit on is it pique your interest a little bit? Or are you just kind of like, well, it's Star Wars, I'll pop in?
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'm not, like, going into it thinking, how dare they make this show, blah, but I was
Is
never...
anybody thinking that?
I don't. Honestly, I think some people, like, not necessarily about this show, but in general, like, something, how dare they make something that's not for me,
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I, like, even as a kid, was never into the Saturday morning action cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never did the G.I. Joe or the Transformers or any of that. So, this sort of looks like Space A-Team, which is not. Yeah. But I'll check it out. I don't know, we'll see. I'm vaguely intrigued by whatever they get up to, and the trailer had lots of Tarkin, and I enjoy that,
I did see
Steven
that.
Stanton voices Tarkin really well, and I love that character.
Well, there you go. They did make it for you. Yeah, look, I'm probably the same. I liked Clone Wars fine. I'm not the target audience for it, but I like Star Wars, so I'll sit through stuff. But if it's a vessel for more interesting stuff about what's going on in the galaxy at the time, I think that's where it piques my interest. I'm just like, this is like the bit where the Empire's basically announced they're the Empire, and the clones have kind of reached their usefulness. So what does that mean? Do they all get sent to the meat grinder, or do they all just become stormtroopers? Is there more to it? Like, I find if that kind of stuff gets answered, that's where it becomes interesting for me. So. The A-Team stuff, again, the trailer was kind of interesting that they've got like another kid sidekick. They're kind of going, is it another clone? Is it a girl? Like, what's her story? Is she the Smurfette of the clones? Like, is she the one lady clone amongst all the other clones? I don't know.
I was wondering that.
Somebody was saying, is it a clone Palpatine? Like, is that why it's blonde? It's actually a little boy. But why has she got a New Zealand accent? I'm like, well, if you grew up amongst all the other New Zealand accents, you'd have a New Zealand accent. Like, it's weird enough that they all have that accent anyway, really.
Yeah, if anything, it'd be weird if it is a Palpatine clone, which I really hope it's not for many reasons, but if it is, and it sounded exactly like Palpatine, I mean, accents aren't genetic.
No.
So
that's like when people assume Rey was Obi-Wan's daughter because she had a British accent. Doesn't work. But then, and after all, and in the end, Palpatine was her grandfather, and she had a British accent anyway. So who the hell knows?
Yeah, but if she is like, yeah, I when I first saw the trailer, I just assumed girl. Like, that's just how the voice sounded to me. But I've seen plenty of people who didn't hear that, so we'll see. And I don't know, like, if she is like the last of the clones, or if they are the last of the clones. I think that is an interesting story. Yeah. Like, what do you sort of do when you've reached the end of your usefulness, kind of thing, and finding your place in the galaxy and stuff? And it seems like they're being hunted. So whether they're, the chips didn't work in them because they're the weirdos, and that all the other clones have gone mental, and they're just sort of like on the sidelines, could be quite interesting. But look, I'll check it out. It could be cool. Like the Palpatine, if it is a Palpatine clone, that would be interesting, although I doubt that. Although they are doing a lot of, like, especially in the comics, they're doing a bit of it kind of like
hey, all that weird stuff that happened in Rise of Skywalker, no, that all makes sense because we're shoehorning it into these other bits in the stories in other places now, and like the Darth Vader comics got a lot of that, and they're putting all the Exegol stuff in, and like, oh no, he's going to stumble on the Emperor's plan that was there all along, guys. It wasn't just written in the 5th rewrite that we did 2 minutes before we walked onto set, 2 years ago. When they're all sitting around a room and someone went, oh, just make it Palpatine, make him a clone, make her the grandfather, that'll do. Well, we'll shoot 3 different versions and we'll figure it out in editing.
Keep it in the comics. That's how I feel with that stuff. I'm like, if you want to do that in the comics, that's fine. And then I can just ignore it.
Don't put it in something where I've watched it and I can't unsee it.
Like, well, don't put it like, I don't want that getting in, like muddying up my Mandalorian waters. Like, I like Mandalorian. I just want to watch the Mandalorian. I don't want to become angry at the Mandalorian.
Well, they came very close to that, though, didn't they, in Mandalorian? Because there was that, the last episode, or where they go to that facility and there was like this, there was almost like, it looked like the cloney stuff in the wall.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, here they go. They can't help themselves. Yeah. God, I haven't spoken to you since Mandalorian. I'm just trying to think whether we'd even done season 1 of The Mandalorian last time. I think maybe it was just about to come out.
Oh, wow. It's been a while, huh?
Yeah, I think we just talked about David Lynch directing Return of the Jedi the whole time, as I remember. Like, that sounds about right. That sounds about on brand for having Emily on. Where'd you land at the end of season 2? Oh, your new what? Sorry? Okay.
Oh, no, never mind. Overall, I really liked it. I think I actually come down liking season 1 more, maybe. Mm-hmm. Just because there was a little bit less of, hey, here's this character,
Yep.
And that's never my favorite part of Star Wars. There's stuff in season 2 I really liked. I loved the first episode of Timothy Olyphant. I really liked Boba Fett, and that surprised me because I was not expecting to. But Tamora Morrison is amazing, and him actually being able to act and not just to be a guy standing there
instead of doing this.
Yeah.
You can't see us on the camera, but I'm just jiggling back and forth, basically. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, now I remember. You're actually a fantastic actor.
Yeah. Yeah, people don't probably really appreciate that. There's a couple of films, obviously Once for Warriors, where, is the one that broke him, where he's just absolute beast, and terrifying in that film. And, and unfortunately, he's done a lot of B movie stuff as well that's never really probably showed off his skills. And who would have thought that it'd be Star Wars that he actually gets to show his chops again? But and then they get to do another series. So they're going to do a whole Boba Fett series, the Book of Boba Fett. So... it's kind of weird because it's like, 12 months ago and you said there was a Boba Fett series, you would have gone in your head like, oh God, I know what this is going to be like. And now you're like, oh, it's actually probably going to be something different. And Ming-Na Wen's going to be in it as well too, so cool.
Yeah, she's great. I love that I was assuming they were going to bring her back at some point, because why do you hire her to be in an episode and then get stabbed in the stomach for after 5 minutes? Yeah. But...
Is she actually... Someone tried to tell me the other day that she was 60. Is that true? That can't be true.
I think so, yeah.
Wow. So you're going to have a Star Wars series starring a couple of 60-year-olds kicking around. Well, that's got to be a first.
Yeah. No little... I'm sure they... I don't think they're going to shove a little snot-nosed kid in that one like they do with the cartoons. I think
or like there. Family Ties when they get to... When the Cosby Show, when the youngest... When Rudy gets too big, they have to bring in, what's her name? Another cousin from somewhere else. They've got a cute kid in there somewhere.
Oh, what was her name? Olivia.
Oh, my goodness. And it was it somebody Raven Simone?
Yes.
Gosh, I can't remember her first name, but I think she went on to do a bunch of Disney kid stuff. Goodness, I think they all did it. Brady Bunch did it, Family Ties, they all did it. I'm surprised that in WandaVision they didn't actually just drop that in as a little kind of trope at the end where the kids age out and then they'd stick another little kid at the end in.
Oh, that would have been great.
I really just kind of wish, I really liked WandaVision. Part of me was going I really wish this was like a 22 episode sitcom, you know what I mean? They did 22 episodes and they just did episodes almost like the first 2 episodes of WandaVision where there was very little break, where it was just kind of like watching a sitcom. Like I could have easily have watched those. I know some people got their noses out of joint, like what is this? But like we're roughly around the same age. We grew up like Australia. We had all of that. We only had like 4 channels, and they would show Brady Bunch, and they would show Bewitched and Gilligan's Island and all that sort of stuff. Like quite a lot, and you didn't have any choice but to watch it because you didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, no, I grew up with all of that stuff, so that was a lot of fun for me.
And then that's that then. And then, I'll be curious to see where that ends up, really. So, so we've got the Bad Batch. Yeah, sounds like it'd be good. We got some Obi-Wan. We dropped a bit of that. Like, what was when the Kathy Kennedy dropped the mic and she's like, here's all the stuff. Like, what was the thing after that you were like, ooh, you've piqued my interest, madam?
I'm super excited for whatever Taika Waititi is doing.
Have you seen Wellington Paranormal yet?
No, but it's supposed to be finally airing in the US, I think maybe later this year. So I'm just sort of like waiting at this point.
At least it'll be like, you'll get like 3 series of it all in one go though, so that'll be good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
There was a really funny photo.
Oh, no, go ahead.
There was a really funny photo that came out the other day in one of the news sites here, and it was Russell Crowe is like the part owner of a rugby team in Australia, South Sydney, I think they are. Like it's like the the NFL of rugby. It's like the proper professional rugby. He's a part owner of it or whatever, and he had a corporate box at the rugby the other night, and in his corporate box was Russell Crowe, Chris Hemsworth, Taika Waititi, Natalie Portman, and Jeff Goldblum. We're all in this corporate box watching the rugby. Like, obviously, this is all the Thor team.
Yeah.
And apparently, Russell Crowe's going to be in Thor as well. So he's been tapped for a role. But I'm going, gee, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the corporate box of of what was going on there.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting next to Jeff Goldblum at the rugby. Can't imagine Jeff Goldblum sat through too many rugby games in his life.
He doesn't seem like a rugby guy.
No, but he's just done it because he's probably just polite. Yeah, he's just like, yes, I'll sit and watch the rugby. You probably like, I couldn't get a good enough look at what he was wearing. He probably had a nice little neck scarf on, keep warm, and yeah. So I thought that was quite cool.
Yeah, probably figured there were some teenage girls around he could hit on.
Oh no, Jeff. Oh dear. Why'd you have to ruin it for me, Jeff? Yeah, well, I mean, Taika, he's a New Zealander. He's probably watched plenty of rugby games before, so he'd know a thing or two. Hemsworth, he's an AFL man personally. He's a Western Bulldogs man, but I'm sure he's seen a few rugby games in his life. Natalie Portman, don't know, maybe. She did spend a fair bit of time in Sydney. She probably got dragged along to a couple of sporting events in her life before, so probably happy to watch that. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting that they're all just hanging out, shooting Thor, going to rugby, hanging with Russell Crowe. What a life.
Sounds not too bad.
You could rock up to that. It'll be weird. You got just an invitation just to a rugby game, and you're walking like, this is weird. One that I got an invite, and there's Russell Crowe and Taika Waititi, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have much to say to Russell Crowe, but I'd be really interested
you
to
make
hear
a
what he
beeline
has to say.
for Taika. I'll say politely say hello and be happy to thank you for inviting me, I suppose, for whatever reason. And yeah, I'll just grab a seat over here. Thanks, mate. Try not to sing while you're at it. Yeah, the Taika Waititi one's pretty interesting, really. I just like the idea of the all bets are off, really. I just want to, you just go as weird as possible, Taika? Is that kind of what you're hoping for?
I mean, I just want him to, I would like him to do something really different. But also, I've liked everything he's done. And I feel like with him, it's just whatever he wants to do, I want to watch it.
Yep. And they haven't hired him. They've hired him for a very specific reason, because he's Taika Waititi, and you get Taika Waititi. There's no point. I don't know. Hopefully they've learnt their lessons of trying to, hire people, and then if they don't conform to what they wanted, that they kind of get the uniqueness beaten out of them, or they get fired, or for whatever else. But
yeah.
I think
different than the Lord and Miller thing where they wanted a solo movie and that was like not like they had different ideas on how humor should be. I think when you go with Taika and like, hey, do your original thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like I think the Lord and Miller thing again was, I think there was a wackiness tone to it. I think that they just they didn't want. And then I think even the Rogue One thing, I don't know. Like I'm guessing, but I think it was probably pretty violent in places, or a little bit depressing, or whatever it was. Or I don't know what the end was. I'd love to see. I mean, all that sort of talking about like release this something cut. Like they'll never do it, but I would like to see the rest of that Rogue One, just to get an idea of. I mean, would you rather see the Rogue One? I mean, you got the I know you got the Mendo factor, but would the Solo one be more interesting as far as like because they just reshot so much of it? Like I think they just redid the ending of Rogue One.
Yeah. I mean, Rogue One, I would just love to see like the script progression of that movie. Because that trailer was so different than the movie we got.
Oh yeah.
And like there's just like all sorts of scenes that changed up and stuff that just never happens and
well the ending's in the
that's all that's all I need.
Even the video game, like when they did the Scarif stuff on Battlefront when it was coming out, that even the mission on that was different to what happened in the movie. Like you literally had to get the plans and like run across the beach to your ship to get away. So I think originally, like I don't know for sure, but you know, there's footage of them all on the beach, and Geonosa's got a big like thing in her hand that looks like a big data tape. Like I think originally it was get across the beach to your ship, fly up, and give the plans to Leia, and that's the end of the. You know, that was the story, I think.
Yeah.
So somewhere that footage exists. I don't know whether Mendo made it out or not, Emily. I'm sorry, but you know.
Well, I mean, I know, and originally in one of the first idea was that Vader was gonna kill him, and then they decided the Death Star was more fitting.
They should have just...
Look, I don't like. He's got to die at the end of that movie, and I think they did it in a perfect way. Which him being destroyed by his own creation is actually like preferable. If it had just been like Vader force stroking him to death, it would have been like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean the look that he gives when he's just like, oh, of course it's going to end this way. Like it's completely worth it. Where he just looks up and he just sees it's like half, oh, I'm going to die, and also half, oh, Tarkin's just screwed me because I know he's the one who's behind this.
Yeah.
Just like, and a little bit of like, well played, sir. Like, all right, you got me. Do you reckon you'll come back for Andor? Do you think there's a chance?
I hope so, but I also am fairly certain that he is currently shooting the Cyrano movie, and if Andor's shooting right now, that seems unlikely.
Technology these days, though, Emily, he only needs to be in front of a green screen in his closet or something, and do a couple of quick turns, and there's your sting at the end of season 1, kind of thing. Like it could be done.
That's true.
And the thing is, like, as we know from Rogue One, he looks exactly the same 10 years earlier than he does. Anyway, like, he's just got his little raincoat on.
He looks older 10 years earlier
because he's in the harsh sunlight or whatever it is. So I don't think we have to worry about. They're gonna have to put any Just for Men in his hair or anything like that. Like, it's going to be the same.
I will say this: if he's in it, I don't want to know.
Yeah, and that was the slight bummer I had with Mando season 2, and I know there's a difference between spoiling something and just saying, hey, this person's in it and this person's in it, and the guys, the Kessel Run Radio guys, they do good work and they do tag their stuff and all that kind of thing. But I probably would have really loved to have not known the Boba Fett, the Ahsoka stuff, Bo-Katan. You know what I mean? Like you say, going in, like Mando season 1 was so cold, of like knowing nothing, and obviously baby Grogu and all that thing, but everything else just like knowing nothing. I would really love that if season 3 rocks around, I just did not know anything. Like, I guess I can shut myself off from the world, and people are like, hey man, you do a Star Wars podcast, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but I did a Star Wars podcast when Mandalorian season 1 came out, and I knew nothing about that baby Yoda. Like, I think those moments would have meant more if I know nothing, not kind of going, like here she comes or here he comes, and yeah. What about you?
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, look, like if somebody's going to be a major character in the show, then they're going to advertise that, and there's no way you can get around it. But in terms of like legacy characters popping up,
Yeah, I mean they kept Luke
you
Skywalker
want
down,
that. You want
so
that moment.
they kept Luke Skywalker quiet. So I mean, I mean to some, Luke Skywalker and Krennic are on the same levels, but it would be nice. I'd love that sting that in the last episode or whatever that it came in and like here we go, he's gearing up.
Well, because I remember my reaction when I saw Tarkin in Rogue One, which is having because I was like really like spoiler, but I hadn't heard anything about him being in it. And my reaction when and especially because like when I first see him, like, oh, we were just going to see him in the window and we're going to see his reflection. He's not going to actually turn around or anything, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then it's like he's a major character in that movie.
Yeah, and he looks pretty good. I remember on the night we did the midnight, and people kind of went, they saw him, because it's all the hardcores at midnight, so they saw him going like, oh, and like you said, he's talking to the window, and then he turns around and we went, oh, there he is. He's emoting. He's doing a few things, but I think they've already. Did they say that Tarkin was in? Am I not spoiling this for you? There was a rumor that he was turning up.
No. There was. I know that they were talking about that. The Castle Run guys were talking about that at the earlier, but I feel like Andor we don't really know much about at this point.
Yeah, I mean they got the puppet. I mean I guess they just bring him back out or whatever they use, the puppet, whatever it is, the digital thing of him. They can just dust that off and pop it back in. So they've already made it. So I like to think of like he's a Muppet. Like they just sit him up and just like
Exactly.
Which would be great. Imagine that. Imagine if you watched Andor and there was just like, I mean, I know that Star Wars has Muppets, but if there was just like instead of a legacy character, they just have a Muppet of it.
I've always had this idea because the Muppet Show Muppets are entertainers and actors that we should just have just watching a regular movie and then there's Kermit the Frog just playing a dude.
Just playing a guy, yeah. Just like I've got to go.
Yeah, just like a guy.
Yeah. Like an Avengers movie, they go like, I know a guy, and they, instead of Ant-Man in the van, they just open up and Kermit the Frog's just there.
Yeah, because he's just Kermit the Frog playing a character. Because that's what Kermit the Frog does.
I'd love that.
Like in the Muppet Christmas Carol, Kermit the Frog is Bob Cratchit.
Is he credited as Kermit the Frog? Like in the credits, I don't remember.
He is credited in the opening credits. I don't in the closing credits. I'm sure it's the voice. But in the opening credits, it's and Kermit the Frog as Bob Cratchit. So it could be and Kermit the Frog as Wolverine.
That would be amazing. Wouldn't that be amazing? That everyone goes and sees Eternals or something, and then it's like the sting at the end. And it's just like you pull up on like the mansion and people are like, oh my God, it's the mansion. They're doing it. They're doing it. And then you just see like a bald head, like the back of a bald head. And it's like, well, Logan, I didn't think I'd expect to see you here. And the Ted just like, stop talking at me, Bob. I can't. No, stop talking at me, Bob. I can't even do it. The Frog, it was my chance. Like, God, that would be amazing. And he just like puts his little green hands up and the knives come out the top of the thing.
Yes!
People are just like, and the whole cinema is just in stunned silence of what, and everyone's just like, yes! They did it! Vindicated! Oh my God.
It'd be the greatest shock scene in cinema history.
That would be amazing. That would be, what an introduction. They should just do that. Have you ever seen a Muppet in real life? Like, not like I've seen it on a shelf. Like, have you ever been at like a live Muppet event? Like, I know that they did something at the Hollywood Bowl or something where they were like, you never, or a taping or anything where like there was a Muppet just sort of like there. Have you ever seen one in person?
No, I haven't, and it makes me very sad. Like, I've been to the there's a museum of moving images up in Queens that has like one of the old Big Bird costumes, and it has one of the Kermit, like one of the screen used Kermit puppets and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I my number one bucket list item is I want a hug from Grover from Sesame Street, who is my favorite Muppet, and I think if I met Grover, then I could die a happy person.
He's got quite long arms, Grover, too. He'd probably be quite good for hugging.
He seems to be whenever he hugs anybody on the show.
That'd be awesome. And you could ask him, like, how does it feel to be playing Cyclops as well, Grover?
Was he a superhero before?
Oh, no, Grover. I'm well aware. Grover? He was the monster at the end of this book and everything. I'm well versed in the exploits of Grover. My girls never really, Olive never really got into Muppets. Or she's kind of, Sesame Street, she never was interested. She's seen some Muppet stuff and she's sort of like, again, I think it's more like Dad likes this, so I'll watch it rather than I'm searching it out. So Sloane's 2 now, so maybe I can start working on Muppets on her and get one of them in. But that would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right, I think we've just plowed through this time, Emily. We had a little technical hiccup in the middle, but we've got there as usual. We touched on it at the start, but tell people all about your amazing podcasts and where they can find them. All of them. Hit us up.
Okay. I do a Star Wars podcast with my friend Brittany Brown, and that is called the Canto Bight Dispatch. I do a general pop culture show with Johnny Grasso and Mike Pappas, and that is both on YouTube and podcasts. Again, that's the Pop Culture Hour. And then I do one called The Fan and the Furious, where right now it is The Fan and the Furious presents Vindicated, where we are going through the entire filmography of Vin Diesel, trying to figure out what makes him work as a person.
Awesome. Do you have I know we're wrapping up here, but just what is your favorite Vin Diesel movie? Whether it's the movie or the performance.
You can find it all on YouTube. It is the first thing he did. It was back when he was still Mark Sinclair. He financed a short film that he wrote and directed and starred in. It is called Multifacial. It is actually genuinely a good movie. It is it's very much about his own life. He is just a guy trying to go into auditions, and about how people want him to because of his Vin doesn't know exactly who, or at least the publicly known is not entirely clear who his father is, but his father is not white. Mm-hmm. And this idea of the different ethnic roles that people want to cast him in when he's going to these various auditions, and all he wants to do is be this classic actor, like a Robert De Niro or a Cary Grant. And it's one of those things where you go, there is a possible timeline where he just didn't become action movie star Vin Diesel, but was really well regarded character actor Mark Sinclair.
Cool.
But again, you can find it on YouTube for free. It's actually genuinely good, and it's only maybe 20 minutes.
All right, there you go. Sounds good. I'm gonna have to check it out now. Yeah, now I'm just gonna be thinking about Vin Diesel all afternoon, going, yeah, that's true. He did that, and he did that. Oh, cool. Awesome, Emily. Thank you so much for taking the time out to accommodate my day off to do this.
Thanks for having me.
And hopefully it won't be another year and a bit before you come on again. And either you'll get over here for next comedy festival, in April, or we'll be hanging out in Celebration in 18 months, whenever that is.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. All right, I'll see you soon.
Alrighty, bye.